Ladies and gentlemen, in this business of speculation, in the markets where men and women pit their wits, their nerve, and their endurance against one another, there is one fact that never ceases to amaze me. Year after year, cycle after cycle, the vast majority of traders meet the same fate. They lose. Not some of them, not occasionally, but most. 9 out of 10, maybe more. They rush into the market with hope. They rush out with regret. And all the while they never stop to ask why. They think they were unlucky, or that the market tricked them, or that some hidden hand was against them. But the truth is simpler. They did it to themselves. They played the game without understanding its rules. There are many ways a trader can lose, but nearly all of them come down to two things: how he treats risk and how he treats profits. That is the essence. The market will always give a man a chance. It does not care who you are, where you came from, what your name is. The tape has no memory, no sympathy, no prejudice. But the market is pitiless toward ignorance, greed, and stubbornness. And these are the companions of the 90% who fail. I have seen countless men ruin themselves, not because they lacked courage, but because they had the wrong kind of courage. They hold their losses with a grip of iron, yet they let their profits slip through their fingers like sand. When a trade goes against them, they say, "It will come back. I must give it room. I must be patient." They turn patience into obstinacy, and obstinacy into ruin. When at last they are forced to close the trade, the loss has grown beyond all proportion. And yet, when the market finally favors them, when they are in the rare position of being right, suddenly patience deserts them. They grab at the first small profit as if they were snatching bread from a table before it disappears. They fear the profit will vanish, so they cut it short, and thus they reverse the natural order of trading. They nurse their losses and strangle their gains. The successful trader does precisely the opposite. He never argues with the market when it shows him he is wrong. He accepts it at once, like a surgeon cutting off a gangrenous limb. The loss is unpleasant, but it is survivable. It is the price of doing business. But when he is right, when the market moves in his favor, he gives it all the room it wants. He knows the great profits come from sitting tight on the right position. They do not come from constant buying and selling, from scalping small moves, from churning one's capital like butter. The market pays the man who is both right and patient. But most traders cannot learn this. Their emotions betray them. They believe speculation is an act of constant activity, of cleverness, of outsmarting the tape. They look for tips, for news, for chatter in the street. They think knowledge is measured in quantity, that the man who reads the most papers and follows the most rumors has the advantage. Yet time and again I have watched these men ruin themselves with their overtrading, their jumping in and out of positions. They confuse motion with progress. The truth is that speculation is not about constant action. It is about waiting for the right moment and having the courage to act with full conviction when that moment arrives. One of the deadliest mistakes the majority make is believing the market is something to conquer, that it is a foe to outwit. They imagine they are cleverer than the thousands of other minds at work, that they can force their will upon the tape. This pride is fatal. The market is never wrong. Opinions may be wrong, but the market itself is always right. The price is the only fact that matters. Yet most traders cannot accept this truth. They cling to their opinions even as their capital dwindles. They insist the market is mistaken, that it must come around to their way of thinking. By the time they realize the market has no intention of conforming to their views, they are already wiped out. The market punishes the man who argues with it, but it rewards the man who aligns himself with it. It is not about being smarter than the next fellow. It is about discipline. Discipline to cut losses without hesitation. Discipline to hold profits without fear. Discipline to wait, sometimes for weeks or months, without taking a position until the time is right. This is what separates the rare successful trader from the vast herd of failures. Now let me speak of risk. Most traders treat risk as an afterthought. They risk too much on a single trade, as if fortune owed them a favor. They do not understand that preservation of capital is the first law of speculation. Without capital, you cannot trade. Without capital, your ideas, your courage, your judgment, they all amount to nothing. Most traders blow themselves up, not because they lacked good trades, but because they risked too much on the bad ones. They bet their whole stake on a single throw of the dice. And when the inevitable loss comes, as it must, they are out of the game. A wise trader risks little on each trade. He knows he can be wrong many times, but if he manages risk correctly, he can always stay in the game long enough to catch the great move. And the great move pays for all the small losses many times over. That is the arithmetic of speculation, but the masses will not accept it. They want to be rich tomorrow. They want to double their stake overnight. They want the thrill of gambling. And so they trade like gamblers, and like gamblers they go broke. There is also the matter of overconfidence. A man wins a few trades, and suddenly he thinks himself a master. He believes the market is easy, that he has discovered a system no one else has. He increases his bets, he ignores risk, and in a short time, the market humbles him. Every speculator who has lasted in this game knows that overconfidence is more dangerous than ignorance. The moment you think the market cannot hurt you is the moment it will destroy you. And yet, many never learn. They repeat the same errors year after year. They mistake luck for skill, and they mistake tips for wisdom. They chase after quick profits, and when they lose, they blame the tipster, the broker, the market, anyone but themselves. They refuse to accept that their own lack of discipline is the cause of their ruin. Until a man is willing to face that fact, he has no business trading. Speculation, when done correctly, is not gambling. It is a business, as real as running a store or a factory, and like any business, it requires method, patience, and self-control. But unlike other businesses, it tests a man's character in the most brutal way. It plays upon his weaknesses, his greed, his fear, his vanity. That is why so few succeed. They cannot master themselves, and so they cannot master the market. The successful trader is rare, not because the rules are hidden or mysterious, but because following them is so hard. Everyone knows they should cut losses quickly and let profits run. Everyone knows they should manage risk. Everyone knows they should avoid tips and follow the trend. But knowing is not enough. Doing it day after day, trade after trade, without giving in to emotion, that is the true test. That is why 90% fail. The market is a stern teacher, and it charges dearly for its lessons. Most men pay with their money, some with their fortunes, and a few with their sanity. But for the man who survives, who endures, who learns discipline, the market offers immense rewards. Not only in money, but in understanding. The understanding that in speculation, as in life, success comes not from cleverness, but from character. So if you wish to avoid the fate of the 90%, remember this: the market will always be there. Opportunities will always come. You need not catch every move, nor should you try. Your task is simply to preserve your capital, cut your losses, ride your profits, and above all, master yourself. Do this, and you will not join the vast crowd of failures. Fail to do this, and you will. It is as certain as the turning of the seasons. The tape tells all, but few listen. The rules are plain, but few obey. That is why most traders fail. Not because they could not win, but because they would not. The great profits come from sitting tight, not constant activity. This is the simple truth most traders never learn, though it stares them in the face every day they stand before the market. They imagine that speculation is a business of movement, of constant buying and selling, of quick hands and faster decisions. They think the man who acts the most, who takes the most trades, is the man closest to success. Yet the market has a way of mocking this restlessness. For in truth, the market does not reward action, it rewards patience. The fortune does not lie in the quick snatch at every turn, but in holding on when you are right and letting the market work for you. It is easier for a man to enter a trade than to remain in one. There is a peculiar restlessness that comes over a speculator when he is in the market. If he is losing, he wants desperately to do something to save himself, to adjust, to fix, to hope. If he is winning, he wants to protect what he has, to take the bird in the hand before it flies away. Both conditions produce activity. He will act when he should sit still. He will close the trade when he should let it run. He will add new trades when he should wait. The urge to be busy ruins more traders than ignorance ever could. The man who makes a great fortune in markets is not the man who was clever every day, but the man who could wait on the right position and then hold it through all the small fluctuations that would have shaken out weaker hands. Consider the nature of great market movements. A bull market does not unfold in a day, nor does a bear market. These swings are vast, and they take time. If you are fortunate enough, and correct enough, to align yourself with one of these movements, you do not need to play every wiggle in the tape. You do not need to jump in and out at every retracement, trying to harvest crumbs from the table. The real money is in staying with the main swing. It is in recognizing that you have found yourself on the right side of a tide that will carry you further than you imagined. The small trader cannot resist fiddling. He cuts off his own profits by trying to capture every small turn. He is tossed about by the daily noise, while the real trend continues steadily in one direction. The rare trader who can sit tight lets the trend enrich him. It is not that action has no place. One must act to enter, and one must act to exit. But the trouble is that most traders act too often and for the wrong reasons. They confuse every fluctuation with a change in the main trend. They imagine that a small reversal means their profit is about to vanish. Their nerves cannot stand to see the tape go against them, even a little, so they sell at the first sign of hesitation, pocketing a small gain. Then they watch in torment as the market resumes its march in the very direction they had predicted, leaving them behind. They enter again, fearful, often at worse prices, and again they cut themselves short. In this way they spend themselves in labor, yet never allow their good trades to grow into great ones. The market gives them chances, but they throw them away in their haste. Patience in sitting tight is not laziness. It is the most difficult work a trader can do. It is the suppression of every natural instinct, every impulse that urges him to act. It requires faith in his judgment, faith in the position he has taken, and the courage to endure the fluctuations that will surely come. The market never moves in a straight line. It will test you, shake you, try to drive you out of your position with every jiggle and feint. The man who lacks the will to hold through these tests will find himself always trading the noise and never capturing the real movement. The man who can endure them will reap the profit that comes only to those who wait. There is a peculiar paradox in this principle. The beginner believes that making money in the market requires constant activity. He feels that he must earn it through ceaseless effort. By watching the tape every moment, by trading at every opportunity, he believes that success lies in his cleverness, in outguessing the next turn before it happens. Yet the truth is that his cleverness is his undoing. The market does not require him to be clever. It requires him to be right and then to stay put. The money is not made by predicting every move, but by aligning with a great move and riding it until the market itself tells you it is over. That requires fewer decisions, not more. And yet, the hardest thing for a man to do is nothing. He will meddle with his position. He will second-guess himself. He will look at the fluctuations and wonder if he is about to lose everything. He will be tempted to take a profit simply because he can, without asking whether it is the right time to do so. That temptation is the enemy of the great profit, for the great profit comes not from grabbing but from waiting. It comes from recognizing that the market rarely gives a man the opportunity to be right, but when it does, it pays him only if he has the strength to remain where he is. The man who sits tight on the right position is often called lucky. Others watch him grow rich and say, he had good fortune, the market moved for him. They do not see the discipline behind that fortune. The will it took not to sell when everyone else was selling, not to waver when the tape wobbled, not to doubt when others doubted. They imagine he had an easy ride, but they do not know the difficulty of doing nothing. The discipline of inactivity is invisible, but it is the very thing that separates the great profits from the small ones. Every fluctuation is a temptation. The tape whispers at you, Take it now. Secure it. Don't let it slip. And the crowd obeys. They snatch at their winnings, only to find the real move was still ahead. They have trained themselves to be content with scraps, while the feast is still being laid. The rare trader resists that whisper. He waits, not for the satisfaction of a quick profit, but for the fulfillment of the trend he has judged correctly. He does not sell because he can. He sells because he must. That difference is everything. Most traders never understand this because their temperament is against it. They crave action. They crave the feeling of doing something. They cannot sit idle while the market is open. They must play every day, every hour. They are like gamblers who must touch the cards, spin the wheel, roll the dice. To them, waiting feels like wasting time. They cannot see that waiting is the very essence of speculation. That is why they fail. They bleed themselves with small losses and small gains, while the man who can sit tight harvests the great profit from the very same market. This lesson must be learned through experience. No amount of words will convince the restless trader that his constant activity is his downfall. He must suffer the torment of watching a great move pass him by because he sold too soon. He must endure the pain of re-entering at worse prices, of churning his account while others grow rich by standing still. Only then, perhaps, will he come to understand that the great profits come not from activity, but from patience. Preservation of capital is the first law of speculation. Everything else comes second. A man may have the sharpest judgment, the keenest eye for trends, the finest instincts for the market's movements, but if he loses his capital, all of that amounts to nothing. Capital is the foundation upon which every decision rests. Without it, even the wisest judgment cannot be acted upon. Without it, the market may offer the richest opportunities, but you cannot take part. The trader who forgets this, who thinks first of profits and only afterward of losses, has already written his ruin. Most traders think about what they can make, not about what they can lose. They look at the market as a place to multiply money, not as a place to protect it. The beginner sees the potential gains first. He looks at a chart, a price swing, a movement in the tape, and he calculates what fortune could be his if only he takes the right position. He dreams of doubling his account, of turning a small stake into a large one. He imagines himself clever, nimble, always one step ahead of the crowd. But the market has no use for dreams, and it punishes men who mistake dreams for discipline. Losses are part of the business. No trader escapes them. The difference between those who endure and those who perish lies in how they handle them. The man who preserves his capital understands that his first duty is survival. He knows that one trade, one day, one swing, is never the whole story. The market will be here tomorrow, next week, next year. As long as he keeps his capital intact, he has another chance. The fool who risks too much on a single position, who ignores the possibility of loss because he is dazzled by the promise of profit, soon finds himself without the means to continue. One mistake is all it takes when the risk is too large. It is not courage to risk everything on one position. It is recklessness. Courage in speculation is the willingness to take a loss quickly, the willingness to say, "I was wrong, and I will stop here before the damage grows." Most traders do the opposite. They think admitting a loss is weakness. They think that by holding on, by giving the trade more room, they are showing strength. In reality, they are gambling their capital on pride. Every dollar they risk beyond their limit is a dollar less they will have to use when the true opportunity arises. They let ego drain their resources until they are helpless when it matters most. Preservation of capital means discipline in risk. It means never allowing a single trade to threaten your ability to trade again. It means deciding in advance how much you are willing to lose and never breaking that decision. It means treating every trade as uncertain, no matter how confident you feel. The market does not care how confident you are. The tape is not moved by your conviction. The only certainty in speculation is uncertainty, and the man who respects this protects himself by managing his risk. Most fortunes in trading were not built by stringing together a long chain of reckless bets. They were built by guarding against ruin until the rare moment came when the market aligned perfectly. That is when the trader strikes with size, with conviction, but even then, he risks no more than he can afford to lose. He does not gamble his whole fortune on a single move. He keeps enough in reserve to survive being wrong. For being wrong is always a possibility. The man who cannot imagine himself being wrong is already defeated, for he has exposed himself to the one certainty he cannot avoid. Capital is not just money, it is also confidence. The trader who has preserved his capital has preserved his nerve. He can think clearly because he is not desperate. He can wait for the right moment because he has the means to wait. The trader who has squandered his capital becomes reckless, desperate to win it back. He overtrades, he takes poor positions, he doubles down on bad ones. His judgment is clouded by his losses, and the very thing he seeks to recover slips further from his grasp. Desperation is the companion of ruin, and it always begins with the neglect of capital preservation. Consider the small trader who begins with limited means. He believes he must risk heavily to grow his stake quickly. He thinks small risks will never lead to large rewards. So he overlevers. He bets far beyond his means, and for a moment it may work. Fortune may smile on him for a trade or two, but luck is not discipline, and eventually the market takes back its gifts. The small trader who risked too much is wiped out before he has truly begun. Had he protected his capital, had he grown slowly and steadily, he might have lasted long enough to see a great opportunity. But his impatience destroys him before patience could reward him. The professional speculator, the one who endures, always thinks of risk before profit. He asks, "What will I do if I am wrong? How much can I afford to lose? Will I still have the means to trade tomorrow?" Only after he has answered these questions does he consider what he might gain. The amateur does the opposite. He asks first, "How much can I make?" He counts profits before he earns them, and only when the loss comes does he ask, "What will this cost me?" By then it is too late. Every great move in the market is obvious after it happens. Everyone points to the price and says, "I should have bought there, I should have sold there." They forget that at the time, uncertainty was everywhere. No one knew how far it would go. The only way to stay in the game long enough to catch such moves is to protect capital when you are wrong. The small losses are the cost of admission to the great profits, without the discipline to accept them. A trader never lasts long enough to see the market deliver its bounty. Preserving capital is not merely a tactic, it is a philosophy. It is the recognition that speculation is not about striking it rich overnight, but about enduring. The market is a place where opportunity repeats itself. There will always be another swing, another trend, another chance. The trader who loses his capital loses not just today's chance, but every future one as well. The trader who keeps his capital, even through a string of losses, remains ready for the moment when the market turns in his favor. That readiness is the true secret to success. Luck misleads more traders than bad judgment. It is a truth that few are willing to accept, for when a man wins in the market, he is quick to credit his intelligence, his foresight, his keen eye. He convinces himself that he saw something others did not, that his reasoning was sound, that his decision was right. But often, what he calls skill is nothing more than fortune smiling briefly on his mistake. A wrong trade can still pay if the market happens to move in his favor. That profit, instead of teaching him humility, teaches him arrogance. He believes himself capable, when in truth he was merely fortunate. It is this misinterpretation of luck as skill that ruins more traders than outright bad judgment. A man who has poor judgment, but knows he has poor judgment, can at least guard himself. He may take smaller risks, he may be cautious, he may defer to others with more experience. His awareness of his weakness may protect him from destruction. But the man who has been misled by luck into believing he possesses skill is in the gravest danger. He risks boldly, recklessly, certain that his prior success was proof of his ability. He grows larger in his positions, careless in his risk, and contemptuous of warnings. The market soon shows him otherwise, and when it does, the loss is often so great that he cannot recover. The market can be merciless in this way. It will let a man be right for a time, just long enough to swell his confidence, and then crush him with a move he did not foresee. That first taste of profit, earned by accident, is a poison. It dulls caution, it silences doubt, it inflates pride. The novice speculator wins a few trades, and suddenly he believes he has discovered the secret of speculation. He mistakes a rising market for his own brilliance. He does not realize that anyone could have profited in such conditions, that the tide was carrying him along. He thinks it was his own judgment, and so he grows bolder until the market turns and all his confidence vanishes with his capital. Luck is most dangerous because it disguises itself as ability. A poor decision that results in a loss teaches a clear lesson: you were wrong, and you must adjust. But a poor decision that results in a profit teaches the opposite: you were right, keep doing the same. This is how luck misleads. The trader repeats his poor decision-making, emboldened by his earlier success, until eventually he encounters the loss that wipes out all his gains and more besides. Had he lost on the first poor decision, he might have corrected himself quickly. But because he won, he clings to the belief that his method works, when in fact it does not. This is why long streaks of easy profits are dangerous, especially at the beginning of a trader's career. They create the illusion of mastery. The trader thinks he has nothing left to learn. He grows careless, he ignores risk, he believes the market is a simple game. But markets are never simple, and the moment of reckoning always arrives. The trader who believes himself invincible is usually broken the fastest. The pain of that fall is greater than it would have been had he struggled and failed early. Early failure can be a teacher, early success can be a deceiver. There are many men who began with small accounts, won quickly, and built them into larger ones, only to lose it all in a single blow. They believed their rapid success was proof of their talent. They imagined themselves immune to the errors of others. But what fortune gave them in haste, it took away in even greater haste. If they had truly been skilled, their progress would have been steady, deliberate, cautious, built upon lessons learned from both profits and losses. But luck shielded them from losses, and by doing so, it robbed them of experience. They did not understand risk, because they had not suffered it. They did not respect the market, because they had not felt its punishment. Their undoing was certain. Bad judgment, in contrast, is plain. The man who chooses wrongly and loses knows at once that he has erred. If he has humility, he learns. He becomes cautious, he sharpens his judgment, he protects his capital. Repeated losses, though painful, can serve as a forge for discipline. They strip away illusions. They teach respect for the market. They force the trader to confront his weaknesses. A man can recover from bad judgment if he recognizes it. He cannot recover from the arrogance bred by luck until it destroys him. The danger of luck is also found in the crowd. When many traders are winning, when a market is rising broadly, people believe themselves geniuses. Everyone feels skillful when profits come easily. In such times, the loudest voices are those who have been carried upward by fortune and mistake it for intelligence. They boast of their methods, they claim special insight, and others follow them. A whole generation of traders may be deceived in this way, mistaking a bull market for their own brilliance. When the inevitable turn comes, the ruin is widespread. What seemed like collective skill is revealed to have been nothing but luck. There is another cruelty in this deception. The trader who has been miled by luck often resists the truth even after losses come. He tells himself the loss was unlucky, just as the earlier win was skillful. He interprets the evidence in a way that preserves his ego. He blames the timing, the news manipulation, anything but himself. He clings to the belief that he is skillful, though the market proves otherwise. This stubbornness deepens his losses. He refuses to accept that the profits he once enjoyed were never proof of judgment, only gifts of chance. Until he accepts this, he cannot improve, and the market eventually strips him bare. The wise trader knows that luck is always at play, both in his favor and against him. He does not mistake a fortunate outcome for proof of ability, nor does he mistake an unfortunate outcome for proof of stupidity. He measures his success not by the result of a single trade, but by the soundness of the decision behind it. A good decision that loses is still a good decision, for it respected the rules of speculation. It protected capital, it acknowledged risk. A bad decision that wins is still a bad decision, for it ignored discipline and depended upon chance. The distinction lies in the process, not the outcome. Most traders never learn to make this distinction, and so they are slaves to luck without realizing it. Luck can open the door to speculation, but only judgment keeps a man inside. A trader who is fortunate in the beginning must be doubly cautious, for his fortune is the most dangerous teacher he will ever have. It whispers to him that he is brilliant, that the market is simple, that risk does not matter. If he believes it, he is lost. If he doubts it, if he humbly recognizes that his fortune may not have been skill, he has a chance to learn. But humility is rare in markets, and pride is abundant. That is why luck ruins more men than bad judgment ever could.